I said I'm really unhappy at work. I was taught that in a lifetime, you may experience on average 5 different career paths. And I found that I used to be able to succeed in a fast paced environment and it was fine. But actually, it's not my actual pace that I like to live at. Guess what? When you have an increased sense of clarity, you get increased confidence, you get an increased sense of fulfillment and purpose in life, which in turn decreases your stress levels, decreases your illnesses, and prolongs your life expectancy.
I found it really interesting your perspective being correct me if I'm wrong, like first generation American,
Oh,
right?
I'm considered second
Okay,
generation.
great. Thank you. Second generation American and coming from like a more collectivistic culture of you need to honor the family and you have to do these things to bring us, to respect us. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic because there is sort of this like American individualistic privilege sometimes that we have where we're like, oh, I want to do what I want. And like it doesn't affect anyone else but me. And I can go be anything I want to be, and because a lot of us come from that. And to not have that experience, not only to have these societal pressures of what we need to be and who we need to be, but then to have these like the familial identity and your identity within your family. And if that's not aligned and how to break out of that, because I think there are a lot of cultures that would feel um very similar to how you felt about like I had these expectations about who I was going to be for the family and not only like for myself. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you so much for pointing that out because, again, I have to drill down the point that, and I'm laughing right now because laughing is slightly coping as well. But to be honest with you, I was not loving myself. And what it looks like for me to not love myself was a low self esteem, sense of being a failure, sense of disappointing my parents for not becoming a doctor, a lawyer, or a dentist. It was a sense of disappointment and failure because I didn't have the income to retire them and to pay for their vacation whenever they wanted to go, wherever they wanted to go. And I didn't even have the income to pay for them to be a nanny for me and to replace their income so to retire them. So there in my mind, I really want to give you a point of reference that to me, that is a sense of failure. And what a sense of pressure that is on us that other people don't feel. Some people I fully understand now that people are listening to me and saying, that is crazy. How can you live your own life if like almost half of your income is going to your parents to retire them, to take care of their needs? But again, if you were living on a farm, that would be doable because the grandparents retire, you live on the same land, they're taking care of the grandchildren, you take over taking care of the field. So this makes sense. You're right in that setting. It just didn't make sense in America with this cost of living, with the lesser of a likelihood of fitting 6 kids and their children under one roof and you don't have a huge plot of land where you could kind of become your own co-op and everyone can build their own home on the same land and contribute to the same um, produce or whatever. And so we have a group on Facebook that I had joined, thankfully, and it's called Subtle Asian Mental Health. And it's where a lot of Asian Americans go, and they shed a lot of this story over and over again, mostly anonymously, because they're even if it's a Facebook group, it's private. People can't just join but what if someone I know in there sees my post and so you can post anonymously, but then there's so many people, thankfully, who chime in to support you, to relate to you. And when you feel seen, when you feel that other people relate to you, then the unveiling starts, right? For you to see, oh my gosh, why was I sitting with these thoughts all by myself for so long? I was really perpetuating unhealthy thought patterns inside myself. And it was hardening, becoming beliefs, and it was guiding my very actions and options that I thought were available to me. However, of course, in the American culture, that's something that I constantly have to wrestle with because I'm second generation American. I often say I think the best generation is 1.5. I think it's people who were able to grow up in another country, become really fluent, really honor their culture, come over to America sometime late high school, college years. That's like the best combination in my opinion. And they come to America, right? And decades ago, when America was sprouting with more diversity, we never knew if it was going to become a soup of lost identity. But now we can say in 2026, that's not been the case. There's a lot of supporting organizations who are here to celebrate you continuing to have a sense of cultural identity with where your ancestors were born. And I continue to teach Vietnamese to my children, read Vietnamese books to them, and also explain to them how there's a difference in family dynamics because of the difference in cultures. And so if you feel that you're supposed to do life by yourself, that everything in life was determined and driven by you with no divine intervention. If you feel that you are only responsible for your own retirement and that you have no sense of obligation to the poverty or lack of education that's around you, um, that's concerning to me too, because we were meant to live in community and in a village. And usually, when we have the highest sense of fulfillment, right, in the hierarchy of needs, of total enlightenment, of financial success, um, what's at the very top? It's typically giving back to other people. And Dave Ramsey says the secret to living is giving. Um, and Tony Robbins has a huge nonprofit organization where he's providing Thanksgiving dinners to family every single year. So, also for you to have a sense of contribution no matter where you are in life, meaning I'm not just going to wait to give from my excess, but in order for me to have an idea of how abundant I am, I always need to make sure I'm giving to someone else who is less fortunate. And that in turn can really give you a sense of warmth and contribution and worth as well.
Yes. Two things. I'm like debating on which way I want to go with this because one, I have to say, I love your ability. You and our friends, I've been to your house. We've done Lunar New Year together, and I've seen your kids and everything, and they're speaking Vietnamese, and it's amazing. And so I love your ability to preserve your culture and your heritage, and also have the flexibility to say, I see where my parents did so many things right, and I see where I wanna do things differently with my children and allow them some more flexibility in finding their path than I had, while still just totally and completely honoring the culture that you came from, and I love that about you. It's always so impressive. I'm like, "Oh my goodness," like, my stepmom's Japanese, and I used to give her a really hard time about, not teaching us Japanese. I'm like, "You never taught Japanese." Now I speak Spanish. I learned it, and as a missionary, and my children don't speak Spanish. I'm always so impressed at your, like, diligence of teaching your kids Vietnamese. I love it. I love whenever I come over and they're just like you're talking to them. It's amazing. So I had to say that. Um, the other piece that I love that you brought up is abundance. The idea and the concept of abundance. I love that because when we operate under an abundance mentality, we realize we have everything we need and more, and we can just pour that out into other people. And I think sometimes when we have that scarcity mentality, I have to do this a certain way, I have to be successful, I have to do this, or else and it's like so fear based, um, that we really limit ourselves from being able to reach like a higher self because we're so focused on rerouting all of that energy back into ourselves. But when we're able to look and see all that we have access to everything, right? Like we do. Like if we have access to dirt and clay and water that is abundant, like we can build a house, like we have all the access we need. It's just we need to have the abundance mentality to access the creativity to utilize the resources we've been given. So I love that you brought up abundance because it's just I think it's so important and it also connects us like you're saying like that connection is so important that we connect with other people and then we're all collectively like giving to one another for sure. But I think that also comes with a security of our own selves and saying like no, I am enough and I have enough and I have more than enough that I can give to other people.
Yes. Yes. And in what form, right? Again, in America, we are so pressured that anything we contribute has to have a financial value. It has to have a dollar sign. What if that dollar sign to everything you gave others was just infinite? It's infinite. You are not as the giver, we also cannot act like we're God, and that means that we cannot say, "If I give you this money, I deserve to know what you did with it and what good you did with it, and to know that I had a good return on investment." There's no guarantees. It's a lot like investing, meaning there's no promised gains. Past performance does not predict future gains, right? Um, but that doesn't mean that you don't do it because it could mean every time you give, it reminds you of the time that you received the opportunity for education. Every time you give, it reminds you how accessible food is to you, albeit how oddly distantly processed it is in America these days. But again, food ends up on your table, your stomach ends up full more than 3 times a day because we're Americans on average are over consuming calories, right? So we have a lot of even unhealthy markers of how abundant we are, is what I'm saying. And yet we continue to be hard on ourselves, saying, I don't have anything to give. I don't have anything to contribute. But on the contrary, if you were able to use your life as a gift, meaning I love on myself. I treasure myself. I take care of myself. And I'm Catholic. And so I can say I really believe that I'm a divinely, unconditionally loved child of God. And if it's not God for you, then it's saying it's I was taught by Buddha, I was taught by any other higher power, I was taught by Divine Mother, by Mother Nature, that if I was born into this world with a breath to breathe and a heart to beat, that I'm loved simply as that. And that everything else was, again, meant to teach me which direction I needed to go in life. And a part of that may have actually confused us, may have actually distanced us even more from figuring out who we are. But once we do, and once we find that gift, it gives life to us when we are being authentic, when we are doing something that is life giving. And then it helps us recognize that abundance to see, wow, other people don't know the joy of what I do. I would love to be able to pay that forward. Wow, other people have not been able to have the opportunities that I had. I would love to pay that forward. And I hope that they get that sense of self worth because I wanted to pour into them. And I hope that they in turn pour into someone else as well. And I just came back from a retreat yesterday. And after being on this retreat for 4 days, on the 4th day, I still came across another retreatant who I did not meet within those 4 days. And we were just saying, it's okay. We're gonna get to know each other throughout this program, but we were all pouring into the same cup. We were all here to pour love into each other, even if we didn't talk to each other directly. And we are all blessing each other to drink from the same well. And so if I had continued to be depressed, have a real conflict of my identity, what I wanted to do with my life, for me, it comes about as a depression. And for me, depression looks like withdrawal. I hide under my blanket. I don't get up. I lose my appetite, which makes me very tired, right? And then it can make me irritable towards my children. I'm just not out there. I'm not connecting with people. Why? Because I felt like everything I did was wrong or I felt like I couldn't get it right. But the more if I were to continue to contribute to that, I wouldn't be modeling for my children what it looks like to pursue your dreams and goals, what it looks like to really sharpen your identity and to live in alignment and full authenticity and have healthy boundaries and love on people because you're loved by God and that you're loved by your parents unconditionally. And that when other people hurt you, you have a source of love to dip into as well to come back from that and to recover from that. And so for now, my current journey is to have conversations like this with people like you who are just spreading the word that says, in case you haven't done so, and there are so many people who have not, okay, we're just gonna like love on them too. You could be 60 years old. You could be 22 years old, finishing with college, having overly high expectations for what life after college has to look like. You could be on your second or third marriage, or you could be struggling to find a life partner. You could still hate your career as an adult in their 40s or 50s. All of those things, but we bring that conversation to the table to say, well, what if you allow yourself that rebirth? What if you never had this conversation before? What if there's a lot of internal healing to do that you have to do first? And once we can chip that away, then once you can support yourself with the right relationships, with a therapist, with a life coach, then you can begin to have uh, a clear idea of the gifts that you can give to this world and to yourself.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
we're
you so much for all your words of wisdom and sharing your story with us. One last question. Where can listeners and viewers contact you, find you, be coached by you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am found on Instagram. It's called Tweez Tea Talk, and that's THUYS Talk. So TEA and TALK. So that's on Instagram, Tweez Tea Talk, or I'm on Facebook, and the Facebook is Thuy Nguyen. And so I'm available for coaching, which I said at this point is on relationships, transitions, burnout. And also, if it stems from finances or marriage and marriage preparation, then we're really happy. Me and my husband are hoping to support people on that journey and me as an individual as well. And I wanted to read for you, if you don't mind, one of the reviews that I got from one of my most recent clients, because I really felt like she depicted so well the outcomes that you get from coaching. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, beautiful. So, this woman, she said, I recently completed 6 coaching sessions with Thuy, and I can honestly say it was such a valuable experience. During a time of significant change in my career, while also supporting my husband through challenges in his small business and raising our young family, I really needed guidance and perspective. And that's exactly what I got. Twee's approach, rooted in thoughtful reflection and intentional growth, helped me see things from angles I hadn't considered before. She provided practical tools and insights that supported me in navigating uncertainty, gaining clarity, and focusing my energy where it truly matters. I incredibly I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to work with her. And if you are going through a major life transition, trying to find direction, or looking to better define your goals, I highly recommend considering Twee's coaching services. Truly a wonderful experience. So I really hope that that helps people have an idea on the outcomes that they can have. And the good thing is, because I'm a budding blossom coach, I have lots of opportunity for beta program, pro bono practicing still. And so it's a really good time to work with me right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening and for tuning in. And I hope you have an amazing day.